Shri Radha Krishnaya Namo Namaha. At first, I offer my humble prayers in the lotus feet of Lord Shri Radha Krishna. I also extend warm greetings to all of you. All by the mercy and blessings of Lord Shri Radha Krishna. From today, I will be starting VIVEKCUDAMANI, which is considered to be the finest crest jewel by Sri Adi Sankaracarya ji. Scarcely any introduction is needed for a book that professes to be, as its title, Crest Jewel of Discrimination, shows a masterpiece on Advaita Vedanta, the cardinal tenet of which is Brahma Satya Jagan Mitha Jivo Brahma Napara. Brahman alone is real, the universe is unreal, and the individual soul is no other than the universal soul. The whole composition is instinct with the prophetic vision of a seer, a man of realization, and the expression is so lucid and poetical that quite a new life has been breathed into the dry bones of philosophical discussion, and that too on the most abstruse subject ever known. This finest crest jewel has 580 different Sanskrit shlokas, and we will be covering them in 18 different episodes or chapters. Today will be the first chapter, and the holy words from the scripture are as follows. I bow to Govinda, whose nature is bliss, supreme, who is the Sadguru, who can be known only from the import of all Vedanta, and who is beyond the reach of speech and mind. Viveka means discrimination, Chuda is crest, and Mani jewel. Hence the title means crest jewel of discrimination. Just as the jewel on the crest of a diadem is the most conspicuous ornament on a person's body, so the present treatise is a masterpiece among works treating of discrimination between the real and the unreal. In this opening stanza, salutation is made to Govinda or to the Guru in his absolute aspect. It may be interesting to note that the name of Shankara's Guru was Govindapada, and the shlokas indigenously composed so as to admit of both interpretations. For all beings, a human birth is difficult to obtain. More so is a male body, rarer than that is Brahmanhood. Rarer still is the attachment to the path of Vedic religion. Higher than this is erudition in the scriptures, discrimination between the self and not self, realization and continuing in a state of identity with Brahman. These come next in order, is not to be attained except through the well-earned merits of 100 crore of births. These are three things which are rare indeed and are due to the grace of God, namely a human birth, the longing for liberation, and the protecting care of a perfected sage. The man who, having by some means obtained a human birth with a male body and mastery of the Vedas to boot, is foolish enough not to exert himself for self-liberation, verily commits suicide, for he kills himself by clinging to things unreal. What a great fool is there man who, having obtained a rare human body and masculine body too, neglects to achieve the real end of this life. Let people quote the scriptures and sacrifice to the gods. Let them perform rituals and worship the deities. But there is no liberation without the realization of one's identity with the Atman. No, not even in the lifetime of 100 Brahmas put together. Here lifetime means it is an indefinite length of time. One day of Brahma, the Creator, is equivalent to 432 million years of human computation, which is supposed to be the duration of the world. There is no hope of immortality by means of riches. Such indeed is the declaration of the Vedas. Hence it is clear that works cannot be the cause of liberation. Therefore, the man of learning should strive his best for liberation, having renounced his desire for pleasures from external objects, duly approaching a good and generous perceptor and fixing his mind on the truth inculcated by him. Having attained the Yogaruda state, which means that one who is attached neither to sense objects nor to actions and has given up all desires, then he is said to be Yoga-rooಢ or have ascended the yoga path. That one should recover oneself immersed in the sea of birth and death by means of devotion to right discrimination. Let the wise and erudite man, having commenced the practice of the realization of the Atman, give up all works and try to cut loose the bonds of birth and death. All works here denotes that something which is done with a motive, including the good ones prescribed in the scriptures and those that are evil, which men do prompted by their own nature. Work leads to purification of the mind, not to perception of the reality. The realization of the truth is brought about by discrimination and not in the least by 10 million of acts. By adequate reasoning, the conviction of the reality about the rope is gained, which puts an end to the great fear and misery caused by the snake worked up in the deluded mind. The conviction of the truth is seen to proceed from reasoning upon the salutary counsel of the wise, and not by bathing in the sacred waters, nor by gifts, nor by 100 pranayams. Success depends essentially on a qualified aspirant. Time, place, and other such means are but auxiliaries in this regard. Hence, the seeker after the reality of the Atman should take to reasoning after duly approaching the Guru, who should be the best of the knowers of Brahman and an ocean of mercy. An intelligent and learned man skilled in arguing in favor of the scriptures and in refuting counter arguments against them, one who has got the above characteristics is the fit recipient of the knowledge of the Atman. The man who discriminates between the real and the unreal, whose mind is turned away from the unreal, who possesses calmness and the allied virtues, and who is longing for liberation is alone considered qualified to inquire about Brahman. Regarding this, sages have spoken of 4 means of attainment, which alone being present, the devotion to Brahman succeeds, and in the absence of which it fails. First is enumerated discrimination between the real and the unreal. Next comes aversion to the enjoyment of fruits of one's own action. Here and hereafter is the group of 6 attributes, namely calmness and the rest, and last is clearly the yearning for liberation. A firm conviction of the mind to the effect that Brahman is real and the universe unreal is designated as discrimination or viveka between the real and the unreal. Vairagya or renunciation is the desire to give up all transitory enjoyments, ranging from those of an animate body to those of Brahmahood, having already known their defects from observation, instruction, and so forth. The resting of the mind steadfastly on its goal, namely Brahman, after having detached itself from the manifold sense objects by continually observing their defects, is called sama or calmness. Turning both kinds of sense organs away from sense objects and placing them in their respective centers is called dhamma or self-control. The best operati or self-withdrawal consists in the mind function ceasing to be affected by external objects. The bearing of all afflictions without caring to redress them, being free at the same time from anxiety or lament on their score, is called titiksha or forbearance. Acceptance by firm judgment as true of what the scriptures and the Guru instruct is called by sages Shraddha or faith, by means of which the reality is perceived. Acceptance here means not to be confused with what is generally called blind acceptance. The whole mind must attain to what perfect state of assured reliance on the truth of instructions received, without which a wholehearted, one-pointed practice of those instructions is not possible. Not the mere indulgence of thought in curiosity, but the constant concentration of the intellect or the affirming faculty on the ever pure Brahman is what is called samadhan or self-settledness. Mumukshuta, or yearning for freedom, is the desire to free oneself by realizing one's true nature from all bondages, from that of egoism to that of the body, bondages superimposed by ignorance. Even though torpid or mediocre, this yearning for freedom through the grace of the Guru may bear fruit, being developed by means of vairagya or renunciation, sama or calmness, and so on. In this case, verily, whose renunciation and yearning for freedom are intense, calmness and other practices have their meaning and bear fruit. Where this renunciation and yearning for freedom are topeth, their calmness and the other practices are as mere appearances like water in a desert. Mere appearances here denotes that is, they are without any stability and may vanish like the mirage any time. For without burning renunciation and desire for freedom, the other practices may be swept off by a strong impulse of infatuation or some strong blind attachment. Among things conducive to liberation, devotion or bhakti alone holds the supreme place. The seeking after one's real nature is designated as devotion. Thus concludes chapter 1 from Sri VIVEKCUDAMANI. Thank you for listening. Sri Radha Krishnaya Namo Namaha.